Story number 3. How powerful are drugs, and how did it become such a big epidemic? The drug battle. Some say it all started in a lab, and some say it all started with countries wanting to find a way to kill or cripple the United States. Some people, there's all different types of conspiracy theories on how the drug boom just exploded, and to what we see now, where you have tons of stories that surfaced in, not only just about cocaine, but about heroin, different types of drugs that are coming in through the borders and finding its way into local communities. There was a story that surfaced in about how a cocaine stash worth more than 1 million was found in banana boxes at a Washington grocery store. Chicago police officer saves a man from apparent drug overdose. So drugs is still a problem. People are dying, and some people are living to tell about it. It depends on where you are. I think what the taxpayer is upset with is the fact that they keep having to spend to help these people get off of drugs and to get them back into the workforce. You have to look at the reality of the situation and how drugs exploded to what you see now. You will probably see stories like this surfacing because this story won't go away. It bumped up to number 3, and I believe it was at number 6, something about drugs last week. But we're seeing different, and then we're seeing how drugs is starting to kind of find its way into the medical industry. It was there, but it was always there. But I think once people found out with cocaine and all these drugs could do, there was even some people saying that there used to be Coke and Coca-Cola. So you look at these story or some type of addictive substance that, like I said, I don't. You probably do some research on it, but there is there are reports saying that that's how it used to be when they was just discovering what this substance could do. California says that its cannabis revenue has fallen short of estimates, but there's still gains in this. That means that this market is booming. So there's questions in this drug epidemic. Like, what would happen if you made all drugs legal and you cornered the black market? Or what happened if you completely annihilated all the drugs and just had people using some type of just natural supplements? So what happened if you just burn the coca plants? So these stories are starting to gain a lot of attention because of what drugs have done to the markets in general and how they have destroyed a lot of people's families. There's so many. There was even a story that surfaced in about how a New Mexican police officer found a newborn injected with heroin dead in the trash can. So this is scary stuff, folks. When you have kids, newborn babies, mothers overdosing, having miscarriages, a story like this is not only sympathetic, but you have to have some type of an empathy towards the victims in here. You have to be able to you have to be a humanitarian to actually understand what's happening, why people are getting addicted to drugs. There was even the VA is starting to use drugs that they're saying could prevent suicides from happening. This is from Secretary Wilkie. He's basically they're basically trying to use drugs, certain types of drugs, to prevent veterans from committing suicide. A story like this, just the fact that how drugs, every time you go to a doctor's office, you get prescribed a drug. Everywhere you go, drug. You even saw with past stories about how some drug companies were giving drugs to doctors, giving them kickbacks. So a story like this has a lot of different angles that you can approach it from, and it can be scary. Some people are trying to be realists about the matter. They're seeing the benefits of the plants, the trees that grow from the ground. Some people are getting biblical with it, saying that, like I always say, some trees were just meant not to be eaten off of. But this story like this is you can approach it from different angles, because even though you say there's pros into pain medicines, there's also a lot of cons because of the side effects. So like there's even stories that are talking about how America has now, they've got a restaurant in California. This will be the first restaurant in California to serve legal marijuana. Years ago, this wouldn't have been thought of. There have actually been people incarcerated for marijuana abuse or selling marijuana on the streets. Some people say this drug has destroyed their entire families. Why would you legalize it? This is creating a divide in this debate. And if you see this topic when it comes to drugs in the 2020 debate structure, who knows what people have questions. A lot of conservatives are concerned about the way as they would call liberals, the way liberals view drugs, and some say they've become radicals, and some of them say they've even become crazy. Whoever thought that cannabis would be legal in the 20 and as we approach 2020, brand name drugs prices still rising, but at a slower pace. So even brand names, even the price of drugs, some drugs that you need, some people can't survive without drugs. A lot of mental health patients need drugs. Mental health advocates don't think that reopening institutions will stop mass shootings or any type of violence. So people are starting to home in on these cause and effect scenarios. And some say that some drugs should be used. This is the pro side of it. Should be used to kind of de-escalate some of the behavior that we've seen in some people who may be mentally challenged and who may need some type of drug supplements. Oregon has too much weed, as reported, and I guess there's actually been an assessment on where that extra weed is going, which market. Nearly 4 tons of weed found in a jalapeno shipment. So you can see there's becoming an influx. There's just an influx of drugs everywhere, and how it may end up in your neighborhood may be the next topic of discussion. Some people, me myself personally, I've never used a drug in my life. I've had to take medications, but other than that, I've never taken any illegal supplements. I say it has, for me personally, I've never seen anything good come out of drug houses, people on drugs. I've never seen anything good from it. So me personally, I say it doesn't help a community out, period. And I'm a victim, so I could probably tell you that I don't see any good in drugs. You're the Mediator with me, Brian Westwood. It's my supreme duty every week to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories. We just passed story number 3. How powerful are drugs, and how did they become such a big epidemic, such a big problem? And that's what story number 3. So if you want to help me out or do anything, you can go to the website, check out the stories that almost made it in. On our Twitter feed, check the stories that did make it in. I'm constantly reminding my audience that I'm just the mediator. I stay in the middle, navigating the news, going through over 200 over tons of stories every week, giving the journalists and all the people on the front lines all the credit as I just navigate and find the stories that are most important for you, so you can stay informed. If you want to be a contributor or help out in any way, all you have to do is visit www.method8inc.com, method8inc.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something, or just sponsor a program. That's every, like I said, every little bit counts.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens.